welcome back to another video. So glad you could join me today, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope you stick around for a bit and enjoy this month's art prompt. I did mention it in my last video. It's Swift, so if you want to still partake in it, feel free to do so. And without further ado, let's get started with the video. So just like every other time, I normally decide to start with a sketch. I make it very rough, just so I can have the basic ideas put down already, so I know what I'm working with later on. I tend to not make it too detailed. I just like to put it down rough, like I just said, so it just makes everything easier for me. So the theme which I'm going with right now is a wooded area, and as you can see, I already went ahead and drew my figures. As I'm sure you are probably already guessing, the theme for my art prompt this month is assassins. I thought it went really well with the word prompt Swift. I didn't really want to go with something typical like a bird, so I thought this would give it just its own feel. So the basic idea for my drawing is to have these three assassins. They are coming out at night, so I'm going to have the drawing basically covered in dark shadows, and well, they're going to be dressed in assassin gear, so I'm busy putting that down now. I did come up with the rough idea beforehand, but I kind of come up with it as I go, as you will see. But the basic idea I have is having them come out at night. It is cold and it's snowing, and the trees aren't too thick, so I'm going to have moonbeams coming down through the trees in a very specific area. So I put down my light source, so that will make shading and just basically planning everything out a lot easier. I try to do this before I come up with the colors. Just put down my light source, just know where it's coming from, and then it makes everything else easier. So as you can see here, I'm just busy putting down the assassin clothing. I try not to have it hug the body too much because I do want to still have it look loose and flexible. So that's just one thing I try to do with clothing. I'm not too good at it yet, but the more I do it, the better I will become. I do just go ahead and do this assassin here. The rest I do go ahead and do a little time skip, and I do a time skip with putting in the colors and that basic stuff, so I don't bore you and we can get to the fun stuff immediately afterwards. As you can see, we just did the time skip. I did put everything in the forefront and the background with the colors, as you can see, but now I'm busy going ahead and changing it to the blues I want, just so I can get the setting for the area. And well, I didn't really want it brown when I was working with a snow-based area. That was just going to cause some confusion. So right now I'm busy going ahead with the background. I do make the center light, and then I work out with dark colors, just so it looks a little better, so we have almost the feeling of light in the background, maybe more moon rays coming through the background of the forest. I just thought it gave a better feel, and also so it doesn't make the setting too dark. I do start off with the snow being rather light, and then I go ahead and put shadows down and I mix it into the snow. Later on I will go ahead and add more detail to the snow so it looks more realistic, but for now I just go ahead and add in the rough colors so I know what I'm working with later on. Whenever I do my drawings, I always make sure to start with the background first, and then I go ahead and work on my characters or whatever else I'm doing with the drawing. I did go onto Clip Studio and look for some already pre-made trees. So as you will see here, I just go ahead and just put those in because it just makes it easier and it saves a lot less time. Also, there's a little trick I do with the trees. I go ahead and add in the background trees. As you see, I just go ahead and move them further back. And then once I'm sure I've got enough back there, I do go ahead and select them all, and then I just move them around. I copy and then move them around, so I don't have to go ahead and use the same brush each time. And also, to give it more depth, I do go ahead and layer some of the trees over the top of each other, so each one looks a little different from the other. So that was something I came up with as I went. So as you can see, I'm just busy mucking around with the tree settings. I do start off with a darkish blue, and I'll also, the further they come to the front, then I'll go ahead and lighten them a bit. You will see that happen later on in the video. So right now I'm just moving them around to where I want them to be, and as you see, I just copied the layer, and now I'm just moving it forward. I will go ahead and change, oh there you go, I'm just changing the color now so it looks like they're just a little further forward and closer to the light. This is something which I try and keep in mind the further I go into my drawing, trying to keep the light and shadows so they look more realistic. If it looks out of place, then I would easily be able to see that, so I'm just keeping that in mind as I go. So I do mess around with the trees for quite a while, trying to get them in the perfect positions. I do go ahead and copy them and paste them in different areas, and I do give each layer different colors, so they look deeper into the forest or more to the foreground. So you'll see that happen every now and again. And I do go ahead and add more shadow to the background because it just felt a little bit too light. The whole point of doing the backgrounds is so you can get the lighting perfect before you go ahead and work with your main characters or whatever you want your main source to be. I do want my background to be another thing you want to look at though, and it doesn't look out of place, so I don't want to just force it into the background. Later on I will go ahead and add in the lighting, but I just want to put the trees in the right areas first because that's quite a big factor for the drawing. As you see now, I'm just going ahead and lightening up some of the trees. I do use the layer lock tool. It is very helpful when you do this so you don't draw out of the lines you've given yourself. And now I'm just going ahead and adding in the light. So that's going to be the moonbeams coming in through the forest. I do want to make it quite bright because it's supposed to be quite dark out, so it adds quite a strong light source into the drawing, so that really helps me later on when I work on my assassins. As you can see, I'm just adding in the base colors for the assassins just so I know whereabouts the lighting will be later on. This is very important, so I do try and keep this in mind throughout the drawing. And I'm now just going ahead and blocking in with color. This part is actually really cool because I wanted the skin to kind of be a dark purple, so I picked a normal skin tone and then I picked a purple and I just laid that lightly on top, and then I go ahead with my blending tool and just blend it together so I had the right skin tone I wanted, because I don't want it to be too light but too dark, so it worked out quite well. So now I'm just going ahead and adding in the rest of the color. I don't make them too light because, well, as you can tell, it is dark, so I don't want them too strong against the darkness. And whatever the light will touch, that will be the lightest part of our drawing. So I just go ahead and finish up the blocking in with color. And I will go ahead and do this with all of the assassins. I do put most of the detail into the one in the front because it's the one closest to us, so you'll be able to see it the best. So I'm just going to go ahead and block in the color with all of our assassins, and then we'll get to the next part of the video. Now that I finished blocking in with color, I do continue with the background, just now that I have my base colors set in place. I did forget to block in one section of the drawing here though. Oops. I just go ahead and remove the trees. All the trees are on different layers, so I can go ahead and use the layer lock and just add in my lighting. I do make sure to do this on most of the trees because it is also very important, just like our assassins need different kinds of lighting as well. So I just go ahead and do that. This original idea was kind of inspiration from my story which I was writing, so that was a big factor as well. So it was actually a lot of fun to draw, and maybe I might even use this drawing in one of the chapters I write. Not sure. Maybe one day I'll make a comic. Have to have a lot of convincing though. So comment down below if you want me to draw a comic. I don't really add much shadows to the trees because their base color was already quite dark. So I just go ahead and add in a slightly lighter tone to the trees and just layer that on top. I'm just going ahead and fixing up my layers, and I'm also going ahead and just adding in this rock I forgot to block in. It's really helpful having all my trees and basically everything I have on different layers, just so I can go ahead and move them around if I have to. I think I use up to maybe almost 30 layers each drawing. And I really don't regret it at all, being that I name them and organize them as I go, so it really doesn't get confusing. I highly recommend layers unless you're really confident with what you're doing and you're able to do it on like 1 or 2 layers. If so, that's really good, and well, I wish I could draw like that. And right now I'm just going ahead and adding in the shadows. I'm having the shadows point away from the lighting because the lighting is coming from behind the trees. So I just make sure I put it all in the right direction. And I'm just going ahead and adding a shadow under my assassin back there. And a shadow for the rock as well. I just go ahead and make sure I haven't missed anything before moving on. I did put the layers down, the shadows down with a airbrush, so it gives it a very soft touch. But if it comes out a little rough, I do tend to go over with the blur tool first. That really helps smooth everything out. So right now I'm just going ahead and adding in some shadows to the skin of my assassins before continuing. I'm not quite sure why I did that. And also right now I'm just going ahead and darkening up the snow, so it looks like the light is really focused in on one point. This really helps narrow down where my lighting is and really quite how strong it is. So it makes it a lot easier later on when I go ahead and draw my assassins, because I just go ahead and select that color and then just layer it over the top. You'll see what I'm talking about when I go ahead and do that. But right now I'm just really focusing on my snow. Right now I'm just adding in base colors. And also I thought it would be really cool to have like almost a fog in the background. So I'm just going ahead layering that down with the airbrush. And then I changed the color with my hue and saturation tool. And I also had the fog on different layers, and I go ahead and copy the one layer, then layer it over the top, and then I lower its opacity. just so it looks like it's laid over the top of each other. It just gives like a fine fog in the background, but with the lighting on top is not too strong, but it really covers up the trees in the background, so I don't have to do too much work on them. So as I was saying, I just lay down the base colors, and then I will go ahead with the airbrush like I'm about to now. And I select a different airbrush which is speckled, and then I just go over the snow with a light speckle, so you will see it's almost like fine grains of snow, just reflecting the light. It's very soft and not too harsh. So I really like this tool, and I think I'll use it more often whenever I do snow. But this was my first time doing it, so it was a complete experiment, and I'm really happy with how it came out. It was a lot better than I thought it would be. So that was actually a really cool surprise when I finished it up. Just busy going ahead and softening things up, and then adding the right layers to the right ones down below, and also just going ahead and softening the light a little. And I also selected a custom brush which you can get off of Clip Studio 2. It's kind of like an ash brush, but I used it to make the snowflakes. I also put these on different layers so I could put them over the trees which I wanted to be on top, because I wanted the fine snowflakes, which I'm putting down now, right in the background with the darkest trees. And then I move a little bit further forward behind my second layer of trees and just make the snowflakes just a slightly bit bigger, and I go ahead and layer that over the top. And then the final layer, I have them quite large because they are quite close to you, but not too large, because I still want them to be rather small and just blending into the photo as another element. Making the snowflakes was quite a lot of fun because I've also never done that before. I am now just going ahead and blending the trees in as well. I think I do go ahead and add some shadowed trees which I wasn't quite happy with, that weren't too dark or wasn't dark enough. So you'll see me do that every now and again. But right now I'm just working on the rock, adding in the light source and then making the shadows quite dark. I also used quite a rough blending tool for it as well, so it looked quite coarse. Shading is quite a slow process, but it's really rewarding in the end when it comes out quite well. And normally when you don't think it's coming out well enough, you just need to trust the process, and you will see it works out quite well in the end. That's something which I have learnt and heard from other artists. So just trust the process. That's what I did here when I was doing the rock, because I wasn't quite sure if it was going to look right or if it's gonna look like rock, but I was quite surprised with how it looked, and I kept the blending quite rough so it didn't look smooth. I think that was the right way to go, and I did go ahead and use the blending tool at the bottom just to blend it into the snow, and then I went ahead and added in the final touches, just a bit more lighting. I tried not to go too crazy with the lighting because I wanted it to still match in with my base lighting. So I did have to hold back there. I do tend to go a bit crazy with lighting sometimes, so I have to catch myself. And if I find I don't put enough down, then I go back and add some more. So right now I'm just busy adding in some shadow under our assassin over here. I'm adding in darker snow underneath him. He did just land because he just jumped from a tree or maybe a nearby building, but I think it's a tree. And of course snow will also be kicked up underneath his feet. So that's what I'm busy adding in now. I don't make it too obvious, but I just want it to have the illusion that the snow is being kicked up. Trying to not make it too obvious. So you can see with the photo blended zoomed out, it's not too obvious, but it doesn't look like it's not there at all. So that's what I was going for. So at this point the background is basically finished. I am quite happy with how it looks, and well, the way it came out was quite a surprise for me. I didn't expect it to come out this well. Yeah, so I'm just adding in some final rays of light just to add a little bit more, and then I do go ahead and work on our first assassin. That's once I've finished up with the snow as well. I just make that area just a tad brighter. Also, as you can see here, I did go ahead and do a time jump. So I've already done the 2 assassins in the background. They are all finished. I'm just adding in the very last of the lighting in. And now I'm just moving to the one in the front. I didn't want to put all 3 of them in the video because the process is pretty much the same for all of them. So I thought it'd be more fun if you guys just saw me drawing in one of them instead of all 3. So the lighting for this drawing was quite an interesting learning process, because next time I zoom out, if you have a look, each assassin's lighting is just a tad different. So the one that is jumping down, that is about to land in the snow, the lighting is in front of him. So of course the lighting is going to be shining on different areas, so it will be the front of his body. While the one that's already landed and is down on his knees, the lighting is behind him, so it's going to be just down his back, but he's also got the cloak on top of his body, so the lighting is not really going to get through the cloak, and so the rest of his body is going to be pretty much covered in darkness. So just take a look at that next time I zoom out. Anyway, so that was quite a learning process for me. I did go back earlier on and I did go over the lighting again, because I felt like it could just be a little bit bright and a bit more dense. So yes, I did learn quite a bit through that. And right now the lighting for the assassin in the front is also different because it's to his side. So I was sure how I was going to put that in, but I wasn't quite sure if it was going to work or not. So that was also quite a surprise to me as I went. But right now I'm just putting in the darker colors. I do put in a lot more detail into this assassin because it's the closest one to us, so I didn't want it to be too bland. The ones in the background, I didn't pay too much attention to detail, just enough so you could pick it up, but not too much that if I zoom out all the work will be completely missed anyway. So I just pay attention to that a lot whenever I'm drawing, not to go overboard, because I tend to do that quite a bit. So the eye here, I do go very simple because I don't want it to be too much, but I want the light stuff still to be reflected in it so we can see. I do leave some lighter areas open, but I don't go any brighter than my base color. I just go darker and darker instead, because I don't want to make it too bright that it doesn't look like they have any shadow at all. So I was just careful with that as I went. And the clothing under the cloak is going to be quite a bit darker because there's literally no light touch yet at all. So that area is going to be pretty dark. You're still going to be able to make out the form just a touch, but it is overall going to be basically really dark blues and greys. So I just do that as I go. So the storyline behind this art prompt is, well, they are heading towards a nearby village. I haven't really thought about very much other than that, but you know, assassins' jobs is to go assassinate people, so you basically get the gist of it by saying assassins. I was thinking of maybe having a orange glow like coming from a nearby village towards the front, but I thought having orange and then dark blues and stuff would be just a tad too much to handle, and it might be a bit overwhelming, so I did decide to scratch that idea out and just keep it with the original. And maybe later at some point when I do decide to come and redraw this drawing, I will go ahead and maybe add in that orange glow if I think it will work. But for now, I am quite happy with how it came out. The skin over here, as you can see, I go slightly darker and darker as I go because skin tones are quite difficult to get properly. But I didn't go any brighter, I did go darker and darker. I did give the cheeks like a slight pink hue because it is cold and naturally our blood will go to that areas of our body. So I did give it a slight pink hue, but not too much. And I did add a little bit more detail to the scar on the face just so it stands out, but I did end up removing the black outline from it, so it looks like it's actually coming from the skin. And well, I think I'll be doing that also from now on whenever I do scars because it came out quite well. I did use the liquify tool and the blur tool just to help blend it in better. So right now that I am basically done with the base colors, I am just going ahead and adding in the lighting. So that's basically it for the video. If you want me to maybe do a tutorial on some areas of the video, do say so in the comments below. I do read the comments, so I will be able to see it. So if you have any ideas for videos in the future would like me to do a tutorial on, just say so down below. Also, if you have a art prompt idea, I would also like to hear that down in the comments below. I will also mention that art prompt later on in my next video if you do comment and if I like it, and I'll also put it on my Instagram and Facebook account. And also because we're at the end of the month, it is now a new month, so time for a new art prompt. So the next art prompt is imagination. Go wild. I will have it also posted on my Instagram channel. You will find me under the name CreativePhoenixArt, and my art prompt is also under the name CreativePhoenixArt art prompt. So if you want to take part, just put that in and you'll be able to take part. I'm so glad you guys stuck around until the end of the video. I hope you guys had a great time and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye for now.